So our virtual festival this year offers 9 live classes this week. We have 1 more today, 2 tomorrow, and 2 on Thursday. Along with being available on the Zoom platform, we are also live streaming them to our Children's Water Festival YouTube site. At our previous class, we did have some people that struggled to access the Zoom class. So if you find that things are not working well for you in the Zoom, we will post the YouTube live link. I see it's already been posted in the chat. So please feel free to jump over and watch the live class on the YouTube link as well. In case you happen to miss any of the classes earlier that you'd like to see, or you'd like to revisit this class or watch some of the other classes later on, there will be recorded versions of all the live classes available, again, on this YouTube link, which will be accessed on our website. You can access it there at metrocwf.org. As far as questions, we encourage them. There's a couple different options that you can use. There's a Q&A box on your panel, on your Zoom panel, towards the bottom of the screen. And also you can use a chat feature. So if you do have questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to type them in, and our presenter, Mario, or myself, or one of my other co-hosts, Paula, will help answer them. Lastly, I'd like to introduce Maria Travaline. He is a specialist in the Fishing in the Neighborhood program with the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. And I am going to pass the live session on over to him.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being with me today and signing up for my session. I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation with you, but fear not. It is it's interactive. We're going to do a little activity today. We're going to try to teach you a skill, not just give you some names of some fish, but teach you how to use your powers of observation to figure out what a particular fish is called. So let me see if I can get you the presentation here first. And I'm going to share it with you. Okay, that's our first fish slide. We're gonna go back to the beginning here a little bit. Okay, so as Madeline told you, I'm Maria Travaline. I work for the Department of Natural Resources. Commonly asked question is, are you the DNR? I'm not the DNR. I work for the DNR. So that should clear that up. If you have any questions as we come up, I think we mentioned there's the Q&A feature and there's the chat. So if you need to slow me down, stop me, or you want to take a break from hearing me talk, that's a good way to do it. But here we go. What fish is that? A lot of you probably have experience fishing. Maybe some of you don't. That's okay. One thing I will say is if you've seen fish before, caught fish before, you may know a lot of these fish, or at least some kind of common names we use here in Minnesota for them. So I'm going to kind of make a request. The idea here is to kind of unlearn what you have already learned about them. We are going to kind of start, we're going to do this in a reverse way of how people usually figure out what a fish is called. Now, when I say name of the fish, I don't mean Larry or Dave or Mario or something like that, but the species name. And we're going to use the common name of the fish today. So we're going to get a little scientific, not overly scientific, but we're going to try to polish up your fish identification in a way that we professionals use, especially for fish that are really hard to identify, fish that are very similar to one another. And this is usually in the minnow community. They're really tough to tell apart. But if we can learn a skill with some fish that are easier to tell apart, like my friend here that's on the wall behind me, we can do it for almost anything. The cool thing is the method I'm going to teach you can be applied to almost any living thing that you find interesting. You could apply the use of these keys to birds, reptiles, especially, even insects and arachnids and things like that. And I don't know for sure, but there are ones, these kind of keys for plants. If you like trees, or you like flowers, or you like aquatic plants, you could take this skill and use it in all those different groups of creatures. So the way this works is, hopefully you have printed off, or your teacher has, or you were able to get my dichotomous key. Okay, that's a big long $10 word, dichotomous. And really what it means is just 2 ways. When I was a kid, we had these choose your own adventure books. I think that they still have them now. Maybe they're ebooks or something like that, where you come to a point in the story and you get a chance to figure out which direction you want to go. Do I want to go over here? Do I want to go over there? This is sort of like that. And the idea is that you have a fish in front of you. In this case, it's going to be on the screen. And then you are going to look at that fish. In this case, if we were doing this live, you'd be able to handle the fish, but you're going to see things about the fish just by looking and just by kind of observing that are going to clue you in as to where to go on this piece of paper. And eventually it's going to lead you to a name. A lot of times what happens is we have a fish, we know some fish names in our head, and we just say, well, we have a fish. Say I caught this fish, and I have it, and I'm looking at it, and I'm saying, that's a walleye. It's not. That'll be the only clue I give you on this one. I can't tell you what this is because it's one of the fish that we're going to have to look at and identify. Just because I know that that's the name of a fish. Well, what we're going to look at is just things on the fish itself that make it a walleye or not. And this key that we're going to use simplifies that into some yes or no questions. And if you're able to successfully answer those just by looking at the fish, then it's going to lead you to the name of the fish. I'll hang this guy back up here quickly, and we'll come back to this one later. But on the screen, you guys and teachers, sure, you can read this, but I'll do it just for the sake of, so you can hear me say it. After making close observations about the fish, and we'll have them on slides, and I'll go through them very slow as you want. And if you need to have some more time, we can either take more time on each slide, or we can come back. Not a quiz, not a grade. The idea is to use the key. Okay, so you're going to decide whether the statement you read from the key on each line is true of your fish. And if you go to the next slide here, if you'll see the questions, maybe you'll look at your key that you have. It looks like this. You always start at the top, and you start with 1A at the top of the key. And you read that, and you try to answer that question about the fish we are observing. The answer to that question is yes. You go down to the end of the line, and it will give you a number to go to. In this case, if it's yes on 1A, you'll go to number 2, and then you'll start reading 2A. If you start with 1A or any of the subsequent or next questions, the answer is no, then you'll go one line down from that line. And this is, I guess, the part that once we iron this concept out with the key, the activity is pretty simple. So make sure you're doing that no matter what. Even if you know the fish, always start with number 1. Okay. So we'll go through an example. I'm going to use my friend up here to point out some features that we need to know, and or maybe we'll go through the first fish on the first slide together, or I'll do it. I'll kind of read it and kind of show you how it works. And then we'll go through each one, and then it'll be up to you guys to figure it out. I have the answers at the end. But once again, the use of this key is the skill I want you to take with you. More so than just throwing names at the wall and getting to the fish. Because like I said, this is going to teach you how to really look at the features of a fish. Now, segueing, moving into that, what do we know about fish? Here's my example. First of all, I have a question for you, and you could discuss this. I'll give you like 30 seconds or so to discuss this. Think about it if you're alone or doing this kind of individually, or you're in a class. Is this thing right here, this fish right here, is this a real fish? So go ahead and take a minute to kind of get your answers. Maybe if you're in a class together with your teacher, you can, the teachers, you can see what the classroom thinks. I'll give you about 20 seconds to kind of get your answers, and then I'll go through my spiel. Is this a real fish? So this is a yes or no question. And what I usually say, like if I'm doing this live, is I make sure I get the yeses, I get the nos, and I usually try to represent both sides. I get somebody to act as a sort of an attorney or a lawyer to tell me why they think so. So being that, I'll just kind of go ahead through it for the sake of kind of getting to the activity. The answer is, if you said no or yes, in a way, depending on your point of view, you are both correct. What a concept that is. So this here is a representation of a real fish. You will find this species of fish swimming around in a lot of Minnesota lakes. However, Nako here is a replica of those real fish. This is not a stuffed fish or a skin-mounted fish. This is a plaster composite version of a real fish. So this particular fish never swam in the lake. And this particular fish is just a remake to look like a real fish. So in that way, both right. Some things you got to know. If you look at my directions slide, it's good to have some words and terminology down as we're going through our key. So I'm going to point out some, oh, we got a raised hand. Let's see, what kind of question do you have? Let me see how that works here. So can one of my moderators here maybe kind of get me that question? Kind of like looking, we have two raised hands. Let's see. Looking for my.
Sure, I think the best way to do that, attendees, if you have questions, perhaps just post them into the chat and then Mario can answer them if that's available. If that's not available.
Or the Q&A, I guess. So, yeah.
Or the Q&A would be just fine.
Right. So anyway, I'll kind of wait for those to pop up and I'll answer them as I can. The most famous, usually the most well-known fin on a fish is the one that's on top of its back. I'm sure you guys know that that's called the dorsal fin. It's good to know that. Also, the fin that moves the fish through the water is this. It's okay to call it the fish's tail, but for scientific purposes, in the key and on our instructions here, that will be known as the caudal fin. Okay, and you'll see it on your little diagrams there of my two fish. If you look really closely at this fish's dorsal fin, you'll notice in my pictures, there's different parts of those, and they will be either spiny, like these little spiky things here. They'll actually look like spikes, or they'll have soft sections, and those are made out of what are called rays, and they're soft and not spiny. That's pretty important to our key. Also, a thing to notice is just where on the body the fins are. So if you can kind of get a handle on those things from my instructions and kind of what I'm showing you here, you're going to be okay to go through the key. All right, let me see if do I have any questions thus far?
Yes. You had one that popped up and they would like to know, what kind of fish is a sea bass?
What kind of fish is a sea bass? Okay, so let me see if I can answer that the way that you want me to answer it. First of all, a sea bass, in its name, it's a saltwater fish, and it is it's a type of fish that you're going to find off the East Coast United States. But there are so many different common names of so many different fish that are called sea bass. The best answer that I can give you is that you won't find them in lakes. You usually find them in saltwater, and it is an actual type of marine or saltwater bass. Simple answer there. Does that help you? Let's see. All right. Quick questions. Kind of fish is a sea bass. Okay, that looks like we're good on that. So if you've eaten sea bass before, they are very tasty. There is a fishery for them. I've actually, in my professional experience, I've worked on boats that have captured sea bass, so I've seen quite a few of them. So let's get on with our key. All right. Are we comfortable with this? I hope so. We'll kind of move on and we'll start with our first fish. Let's see, click back on that. Technology is not my strong suit, so if I'm kind of fumbling around, I apologize. You got your keys with you. We're going to start with this fish here. and I'm going to lead this example. Once we, the other thing I'm going to do is I won't say I won't say the name of any of the fish after this slide to kind of let you go through as either an individual or a class to kind of to work through this key kind of at your own pace. I will change slides after a kind of a nominal amount of time, and then we should have plenty of time to go back through them if you kind of if you need to see them again. And then at the end, I'll give you the names of all of them in order. There's 15 of them. Now keep in mind, you may have seen these fish before. You may see these fish all the time. Maybe you have a parent or a friend or a grandparent that takes you fishing all the time, and you know, hey, that's what this is. That's great. Work through the key anyway, and see if you can kind of figure it out that way. See if you can kind of follow the path to the fish's name. Like I said before, I say it a bunch of different times because it is important and it should be repeated. I want you to learn how to use the key. Okay? So for this one, we are going to start. I know you guys can all read, but I'm going to start off with 1A in the key. Dichotomous key to identify common Minnesota fish. 1A. Is there any part of the dorsal fin of the fish in this picture on the slide located near the middle of the fish's back? Back to my live example here, if you can see. This would be the middle of the fish's back. You can see where my hand kind of does that. So look on your screen with this fish. Find the middle of the fish's back. So in my opinion, and because I wrote the key, there is no part of this fish's dorsal fin near the middle of the back. So the answer to that question is no. That brings me to 1B. Okay, so I'm not going to go to 2 like it says if it was yes. So everybody is with me so far. I'm going to read 1B. Is there a single dorsal fin located close to the caudal fin? So we know the dorsal fin's on top of the fish. The caudal fin is my fancy schmancy word for fish's tail. So find the fish's tail, find the dorsal fin. Is that fin pretty close to the fish's tail and not located in the middle of the fish's back? Okay, so now we're going to go to number 3. Okay, remember, we always start with the first one, 3A. Is the fish's body color darker with lighter horizontal markings? That means horizontal along the fish's body. So we want to see if the markings on the side of the fish run this way or this way. So side to side or up and down. Okay. So the answer there to that question, darker body, lighter markings, that is going to be a no. So we go down to 3B. Is the fish's body lighter in color, relatively, with darker vertical markings? So that means, once again, that's our up and down. And the answer to that question is yes. So then if you go to the end of that line, you will see that the name of this fish is a muskellunge. And most people in Minnesota call them muskie, but that is the full common name for this fish. Anybody have any questions of how we are going to work this thus far? I know that was, usually it's nice to see everybody, and this is new for me because I can kind of see how you're reacting to what I'm saying. Hopefully you're not all asleep. But then this is the point in time where I kind of turn it over to all of you. You have your key. You will go through the fish, work through the fish, and you'll come to an answer or a name. You can find a way in your classes or individually. This is a good time to maybe get a piece of paper and a pencil, a whiteboard. If you're in a class, you guys can do this all together. Once again, just the idea that you're kind of working through the key that's most important. I'll go to the next slide, and you guys can give it a try on your own. I see that there's some questions here. I see here there's some things on the chat. I can't see your fish. I can't see you. Okay, I don't. Okay, so we have Luke Pellington. and he's saying he can't see me or the fish. So I don't know. Let's see. Has that been resolved? Can any of my panelists kind of help me out with that? Okay. Madeline, Nate, Paula, any mileage on what we could do for Luke here?
Hi, this is Madeline. Luke, it's hard to kind of advise you from far away here, but there are different settings for how your screen shows up, whether you can see the speaker or the participants. As Paula said, kind of up near the top right, there's usually some different options to view it. If you can't find that or you're still struggling, then scroll back up to the top of the chat, or let's see, we'll find the YouTube link and post that again in the chat here, just in case we need a backup. There's the YouTube link. So if for some reason Zoom's not working out for you again, I just advise you to jump over to YouTube Live. But try kind of messing around with your viewing there. And Mario, you had one more question pop up.
Okay. I got hand raised, and I got, let's see, there's a Q&A. None there, just in the chat?
Yes.
Okay, let's see, was that the sea bass question?
No, the question.
My sister wants to know the name of the fish. Okay, so I guess I need to know which fish you're talking about. The fish behind me or the fish on the slide? So the fish behind me, I can't tell you because we're going to try. It's going to be one of the slides. For all intents and purposes, let's call him Carl. And the fish on the slide that we gave an example of is a muskellunge or a muskie. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so we are going to go to the first on your own example. And the nice thing is we got some time here, so we're doing pretty good. All right, let's give this fish a shot. So here's the first fish that you guys are kind of going to do on your own. So give it a shot, start at 1A. Remember, if the answer to the question is yes, you go to the number shown. If it's no, you go on the line down until you get a yes, okay? And then that'll show you where to go in the numbers. And it eventually will lead you to the name of a fish. While you're doing this, use your powers of observation. Look for things that are obvious. This particular fish has some things kind of near its mouth to give you a clue to help you out. Look really close to the fish's dorsal fin. See if you see anything that looks a little, say, sharp. Pay close attention to the way the tail fin is. That might help you as well with some of these. But I'll watch the clock. I'll let some time go by, and then we'll go to the next one. And if any of my panelists can help me out here, if they think I'm moving too slow, too fast, I need to be reined in. I talk with my hands a lot, kind of, So that's why they're here. They're here to help me out and help you out. And I want to make sure that you guys are hopefully enjoying yourselves, but also kind of I'm not being too confusing and the activities is going smoothly here. So take some time. Okay, I'm gonna, unless I have some pretty fierce objections, I might I'll give you another minute here, and then I'll move to the next one. Okay, next fish. A little bit of a clue here. This is in a totally different family than the other two fish you've seen so far. So I try to mix them up that way. The other thing too, when you're able to handle these fish, meaning like hold them and kind of use your sense of touch, you're going to find that determining whether or not there are spines on the fins is a little bit easier. So think of my example that I gave with this fish here. And it's worth mentioning on this one because similar fish are going to, have the same characteristics. But when I'm asking about spines, if you look right here, those actually have a pretty sharp appearance to them. Okay. So see if you can tell that this fish has these or not. And hopefully that'll help you out with this one. Because it is, if you're just looking at the shape of things, sometimes that's a little tough to tell. But when you're actually handling or holding the fish, it's a little easier to feel or even to see. So in fairness to you, give that a shot and see what you think. This would be spiny, okay? So I had a question from looks like from MJ. This fish is not a bass. So if you are if maybe you're going down a road and you're not sure, and I'm not there to kind of help you out or guide you, what I typically will do or say as far as this key goes is somehow along the way, maybe I don't know, maybe with like I said with spines or things like that, work your way back to where you think you might have a need of a change of direction. Because if it's if it's a little bit interpretive, which the other thing I got to say is that some of these fish, it's the way the replicas are made makes the characteristic maybe not stand out as much. I tried to do the best job I could to fit the actual fish themselves that I did. But if you do kind of maybe go down what you think might be the wrong path, or like maybe you have some, maybe with among classmates you're not sure exactly what you're looking at, or you don't know the name of the fish, try to work backwards a little bit to maybe try another direction. Even that can kind of help you out. And then that's usually what I do is I'll have you guys answer a question that I ask, or I'll show you a feature, and then that usually sets you on the right path. So that's something that teachers can help with. If you're by yourself, throw an answer up in the chat, and then we'll try to we'll try to get you what you need. So we're gonna move to the next fish. I had another question, I think, from MJ here. This is not an invasive species, however. Fun fact, this particular fish here is not native to Minnesota, even though we do raise it here and stock it here in different lakes and things like that. It is not invasive in that sense, but it is also not native to Minnesota. Okay, next one. Ah, kind of looks familiar. Maybe. So Luke threw up a name there, but so Luke, what I will say, you are in the right general family for that last one. They're relatives of those fish, but go ahead and see if you can find, maybe if that helps you too. But go ahead and look through and see if you can kind of work your way that way. There is one characteristic of that last fish that really stands out that is on the key. That you would have seen, and that should lead you to a name. Okay, so we're on this one now. Looks a little familiar.
Mario, this is Madeline. While you're waiting, you do have a couple questions in the Q&A area as well.
Let's see. Thank you very much. Okay, so the question was about the fish in the drawing. The fishes in the drawings, if I'm reading you right, at the beginning are kind of, they are actual species in the drawing of the key, but on the slide, the first fish was a muskie. The number 2 and 3, I'm not going to say yet until we're done kind of with at least our time or most of the fish, or we got kind of answers. So we will go back and I'll go through all the slides and I'll tell you what they are. So if you're asking what the fish is as we go through them, try to write them down if you can write them down, and then I will go back through. Like I said, the thing is once again, I just want you to try to read through the key and do the best you can to figure it out as a class or on your own. And I will give you the answers. I know that's important. So I'll get to those when we're all set here. So another question is, are the fish relative to puffer fish? In the sense that they're fish, yes. But puffer fish is a saltwater fish, and we don't have saltwater here in Minnesota. So all the fish that I'm dealing with, at least in this particular exercise, are all freshwater fish species. Either rivers, lakes, or say could exist in Lake Superior, but all that is freshwater. So direct link, none of these are related directly to a puffer fish other than that they are in the larger category that are bony fish. How's that? Q&A. All right, we're going to go to, we've had a long time on this one. Hopefully you got it. So we're going to go down to the next one. This one is important because, here's your clue, it is the state fish of the state of Minnesota. Okay, we got some questions on the Q&A. All right. So MJ's asking if that's a bass, and let's see. This fish is a predator, and it is not a bass. And like I said, I will tell you the names when we're all done. I'll go through and I'll give you the answers to all of them. Luke, you're on the right track. But so find your way through the key on this one. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next fish here. Ah, similar to one we've already seen. Questions? Q&A? It's not a tuna. Tuna's a saltwater fish. Maybe I should probably get this together for some saltwater fish. A lot of people want to know about ocean fish. Here's a fun fact for you. I have a degree in marine science and biology, and I used to work in commercial fisheries information. So I have a lot of ocean time in my professional experience. So it's kind of cool just because a lot of people do ask about saltwater fish, and I can usually help you out with that. And here's another thing. I used to work at the aquarium in the Mall of America when I was in grad school. I went to graduate school here at the U. So I used to give tours and talk to people about the fish in there. So I can answer some questions about saltwater fish, but it's not a tuna. And let's see, I'm going over to the chat. Okay. All right, gonna move to the next one here. Aha, also similar to one we've already seen. So when I say that, what I'm usually talking about is family. So we've seen a similar fish, but they're not the same, and you'll hopefully see some characteristics of the fish and you'll figure out what makes it different. Hi, Mom, if you're watching. Sorry for using variable times with these fish. I'm thinking by now maybe you kind of get the idea. of how to kind of run through this. So maybe we'll go a little bit quicker with the second half of this one here. A little bit more time on this one, and we'll move down. Another question. So so I give you some clues again here. This is this is in the same family as salmon, but it is not a salmon. And I don't have any salmon on the key, so that should help you out there. Okay, next one. We have seen a similar picture in the instructions to this one. And this one might be a little tough because in Minnesota, we have a tendency to group these all together. And this is an actual, it's its own species of fish. So keep that in mind. Q&A flying in. This is not a pufferfish, and this is not a tuna. I will tell you that I do not have any pufferfish on the presentation, just so you know. Let's see, I'm trying to think of, so yeah, you go to the aquarium, they have them there, I believe, at the mall. And see, I've seen plenty of them in person, but don't have any here. And this fish is in a different family from the last fish that we looked at. It's not in the pufferfish family. This one, as well as kind of another one earlier, I kind of want to. This is a good fish to have here, my example fish. So when I'm talking about rounded or squared second part of the dorsal fin, this is the part that I'm talking about, the edge. This one is more rounded. I don't have an example of one that would be more squared, but you'll actually see that if there's one that we're going to show you that has it. It'll be kind of, this edge will look like the corner of a square rather than this round section like that. So hopefully that helps people. Go to the next one. So this one is kind of goes into what I was just talking about with the edge of the second part of the dorsal fin. This one would be an example of one that is more square edged and not rounded. And I kind of gave it away a little bit, but I just wanted to help you through that. This is kind of the first It's easier to see when you have the fish, but if you look at this particular one here, back to the Q&A. I wonder if the question is going to be about puffer fish or tuna. Nope. No tuna, not a salmon. Tuna are saltwater fish. Some of the members of the species of the family are fairly small, football-sized type fish. Some of them are very, very big. Giant bluefin tuna are a massive, massive fish. And I believe they're not the fastest. I don't think they are they're in the top 5, maybe top 3 fastest swimming fish in the world, giant bluefin tuna. I think the fastest is it's always, I get these mixed up a little bit, and I think I get different information depending on who I ask and what paper I read. But it's sailfish and white marlin are the 2 fastest fish in the world. So there you go. There's some fun facts while we're figuring out our fish here, since we want to know about tuna and puffer fish. This is in a different family than the bass. So make sure you're reading through your key. Make sure you're looking at your characteristics. Yep. The answer to that question is yes, Paula. Next one. Go a little quick through these last ones here. And I think, Paula, what I might do, and for everybody else, maybe we won't get to every single one. I'm hoping you're kind of getting the idea by now, because it generally kind of is the same through each one, as long as you're starting at the top and going through the bottom. So let's see. We had a lot of questions about certain fish here too. So let's see if I can go to one that has been asked about before. There, give that one a shot. So just a question for everybody, is everybody seeming to kind of get through this? Are your classes, and this is, you can kind of, you know, if there's, mostly I guess if there's a concern that this isn't working or it's totally confusing, maybe that's what I want to hear. But I'll take the no news is good news. If your classes and you're kind of getting through this, okay. But don't hear from me, I'm going to assume that we're doing all right at least. If the barrage of Q&As come in and say, whoa, you're crazy, man, I don't know what's happening here, then we'll have to do some serious revamping. But I think it's a good point at least to ask that question. So another question from MJ. This one, the second part of the dorsal fin, I would call rounded. Okay. in case you're wondering. This is a little tough because of this little break right here at the top. But this one, if you look at the trailing edge, it's more rounded than square. That's a good question. This fish, more than any fish that I have, messes people up because of the way that the replica is. So if you get it down to the actual family, then you've done a good enough job. And then there's just one characteristic that'll kind of make it one or the other, because they're very, very similar fish. Okay. So what I think I'm going to do is try one more, and then we're going to work on kind of wrapping it up. Let's do this one quick. You had one of these before, but it was different. I'll give you a minute or so, maybe 2 minutes to work on it. And that'll give us enough time to kind of buzz through the answers for you and answer any additional questions that you have. Give our panelists here time to put a wrap on this session. So you guys found this worthwhile. Hopefully, at least if you, my hope is that you didn't fall asleep. If you had fun, that's a real bonus. But the last thing I'll say kind of about my pitch for my program, for you teachers, you can go on the DNR website and look up Fin, Fishing in the Neighborhood. We have this guide here, but my challenge to everybody then is to find a lake in the Fin program. It's in the 7-county metro. So wherever your schools are, there's probably a Fin lake nearby you. And encourage your class to talk to their families, parents, somebody who, a friend or close to the family, to help them fish, and go check out one of these Fin ponds. They're kind of cool because usually they have parks around them and other things for the family to do. But that would be something that I would like you guys to maybe talk about if you're interested in fishing. They're really good places to fish. They all have piers and safe places to cast from, for the most part. And there are fish in each one of these, and they're regularly stocked. So that's kind of a cool thing that you could do when we're done with all of this here too. Hopefully then you know some of these fish. A lot of the fish that we've seen today are going to be in these ponds, even the salmon relatives. So please explore. Okay, so I think what I'll do is if it's all right with everybody, I'm gonna go back to the top and I'll go through all of them quickly, a couple minutes here. Hopefully the idea of the key, that you guys are starting to get used to it. That's usually what I notice through my time with groups. Usually they need help on maybe the first one or two. Then once they get the flow of how this works, then they just start, it's quick to them. And what you're doing is you're actually teaching your brain to go through all these quickly to bring you into a family. And as you train as an ichthyologist or a fisheries biologist, that's generally how it works. So this is the first step into that world, and hopefully you find it useful. Okay, let's see. Check the Q&A real quick, then I'm going to go back to the beginning, and I'll tell you what the answers are. Okay, let's go up to the top. And I'll go through the ones, I'll give you the answers to the ones that I did not give you time to look at. I just wanted to make sure we're staying within our time frame here. So at least you'll know, and maybe I'll throw a fun fact out there about each one. See. All right. Oop, sorry about that. All right, we already went through this one. This is the muskellunge. This is the, by size, generally one of the bigger fish on my little presentation here. They have teeth. They're a very sought after game fish, and they're very popular with anglers. This one here, one of my favorites. This is a channel catfish. It's the only catfish family member that I have a replica of. Other ones that we have in the area are bullheads, and they look a little bit different. But this one is a channel catfish. It's got whiskers, or barbels. Okay, this is not a salmon. Well, kind of sort of is. It is a rainbow trout. And we stock a lot of these throughout the state. They're very popular for fishing, and they're very tasty. But this is a rainbow trout. The pink stripe is what gives that one away. This one here looks similar to my friend on the wall, but it's a different species, very closely related. This is a white crappie. State fish. If you didn't know this, now you do. You probably never forget it. It's toothy. It's got a big eye. It's got a white spot on the bottom part of its caudal fin. This is the walleye. This is the kind of the close relative to the first one. Very similar, but a little bit different with the markings. This is a northern pike. We're back to our trout family with this one. This is a brown trout. This one, it's a type of sunfish. Everybody in Minnesota will call this one a sunny. Particularly, this one is a pumpkin seed. This one here, closely related to the walleye in the same grouping. Also frequently caught fish. Also pretty tasty. A little bit smaller than the walleye though. This is a yellow perch. Back to our trout. This is the only native trout in the state of Minnesota. They exist here. They're from here. They're native to Minnesota. This is a brook trout. Here's my friend on the wall. This is the same exact fish that I have hanging on my wall. This is not a white crappie. This is a black crappie, whose name is Carl as of today. Okay, this is the one that was asked about a lot. Not a tuna, not a puffer fish. This is your largemouth bass, one of my favorite fish to fish for. But this is a largemouth bass. If you look at its mouth, the upper part of the jaw, it goes past the eye. If you draw a line from the eye down to the jaw, that's the end characteristic. We didn't go over this one. We didn't give you a chance to look at it, but it's in the same grouping as the perch and the walleye. This one you got to go into the rivers to find, or way up north in the Lake of the Woods. And this is called a sauger. Also a fish that's very near and dear to my heart. This one is what everyone learns how to fish on. This is usually the first fish that you catch when you pick up a rod and reel. Also known as a sunfish widely throughout the state, but this is a bluegill or a bluegill sunfish. This is one we didn't go over. It's the other one in the bass family. It's on a largemouth bass. It is a smallmouth bass. Here's the answers to them. You could check to see if I had mistakes. Unless there's any questions for me, let's see. I'll check the Q&A real quick. Might be a few. I don't think there are. That should give us a couple minutes to either ask really, really pressing questions or allow our panelists to kind of put a wrap on this session. I really hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for your attention. I really wish we could do this live, but glad you guys are all staying safe and able to participate today. Thank you so much for your attention. And I'll take any questions if we have time, but I'll turn it over to Madeline and Paula and Nate if they need to wrap this up.
Thanks, Mario. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes and see if there's any questions as well. That was really interesting, though, so thank you very much. I also did it with you. I have to keep up with my second grader, so I hope everyone learned as much as I did. I think what we'll do here is if you want to stop sharing, I will put up the last slide. And for those of you that are participating today, if you'd ever again like to go back and relook at this, or if you want to check out any of the other sessions that we've done so far, or we'll be doing later on this week, then please visit our website at www.metrocwf.org. And you can find all the information there for upcoming sessions, as well as links to recordings for the previous one. So I don't see anything coming in. So it looks like you got it all.
Yeah, knocked it out of the park, I'm sure. Hopefully they're not all napping, but thank you guys so much. I wish I could see you, but thanks for sticking around and for humoring me at least and learning some about fish.
All right, thanks everyone.